Have you read this book?
There are over a billion people.
There are 100 verses in this book that incite violence and murder against us.
Show some damn respect for people's religious beliefs, right?
I should show some respect for a book that incites murder against me.
Put it down.
And calls me...
I agree with Tommy Robinson. If something proposes the harming of non-Muslims, which is all of us, then we are allowed to criticize it and bring it to light. A few years ago, Tommy Robinson was on Piers Morgan talking about Islam. Of course, Piers was saying that he was inciting Islamophobia. Let's take a look at this legendary interview that took place back in the day, I believe 2017. Let's watch.
Accusing the Finsbury Park mosque of creating terrorists.
Well, after the terror attack last night, he tweeted, "The mosque where the attack happened tonight has a long history of creating terrorists and radical jihadists and promoting hate and segregation."
And he joins us now. Tommy Robinson, thanks very much for coming in this morning. You followed up that particular tweet with another one. Finsbury Park Mosque was a UK government-protected planning centre for hundreds of jihad attacks, plots which killed British soldiers and children. The fact of the matter is, Finsbury Park Mosque is a pioneering mosque doing all sorts of great community work. By implying that it's somehow involved in terrorism is actually whipping up a feeling which is not helpful considering what happened yesterday.
When you say that, all I've done was repeat what newspapers across our country have said. Those were facts. The facts are that it did create terrorists. It was a hotbed for jihadists. That's a fact. That's all I've done, was give the history, and that's from many of the newspapers, one of the newspapers you work for, Piers. So it's not me saying it.
You can't innocently stand back and say, putting something so provocative out there, a historical piece of information about a mosque which is now absolutely at the forefront of counter-extremism, winning awards for the good work that it's doing on integration. You can't stand back and say, I'm putting out this rather inflammatory tweet and piece of historical information and say, oh, but all I'm doing is just stating facts.
I'm stating facts. Do you know who Mohammed...
What's the purpose of putting that out
if
there?
you read in context with the rest of the tweets, the rest of my tweets, that's not in context. There was a whole flurry of tweets where I was saying how I condemn the attack as barbaric, as wrong. Do you know who Mohammed Savollar is? No?
I'm sure you're about to tell us.
Well, he's a trustee at the mosque. He signed the Istanbul Declaration, which called for... He's the trustee now at the pioneering mosque. He called for British troops to be killed. He signed the Istanbul Declaration. He was also a mastermind for the military campaign for a terrorist organisation, Hamas. So, and when you talk about a pioneering, do you know who Abdullah Jabbar is? No?
Unfortunately, you can cast out all sorts of criticisms and aspersions on these people.
It's funny how these people don't know what is taught at these mosques. What do you think they teach at these mosques? What do you think? How to make curry? What do you think? They teach vile things against Jews, against Christians, against non-Muslims, against the Zionist entity of Israel. Don't you understand that hijrah, which is immigration in Islam, is a principle? It's a principle that's going to be implemented in the UK. It's already being implemented in the UK. They're 7% now, but they're only growing. They're growing by the masses. They bring more children into the world, and you know what's going to happen in 2060. They're going to be the majority. Sharia law is going to be imposed, and then you're going to eat your hat. I don't know, that's a term in Hebrew. I don't know if it exists in English. But they're delusional, these people. They're not aware of the situation. They want to, walk on eggshells and say, no, everybody is so peaceful. The ideology is not peaceful.
We don't have them on the programme for a right of reply.
No, I think, OK. Well, what I'm telling you is that hate preachers are still speaking at that mosque.
Yep.
Muslim Brotherhood...
Which mosque?
At the Finsbury Park Mosque.
That's not where the attack was.
No, but no, you've come on and you're talking to me about the Finsbury Park Mosque.
Because it's what you tweeted about.
Here's my point, Tom. Here's my point, right? I've read a lot of stuff that you've said and done. I know your history. Right? I know all of it. Good, bad and ugly. Some of it's ugly and some of it I agree with, right? My issue with what you did yesterday was that within 1 hour of this utter lunatic, this terrorist, driving from Wales and deliberately mowing down innocent people, as it turned out all Muslims, outside the Muslim welfare house, not the Finsbury Park Mosque, killing one, maiming maybe 10 others, is that your first thought process was not to express sympathy for what had happened. Oh, hang on. I read the tweets in sequential order, right? That within 1 hour, your thought process was to go on the attack, to talk about another mosque, not the one that had been attacked, to talk about it in historical context of when everyone knows the Finsbury Park Mosque at the turn of the century was a bad place with Abu Hams and everything else, right? And what you were doing was fomenting hatred and almost suggesting that somehow this attack, this revenge attack, as you put it, was in somehow deserving because of the historical behaviour of certain people at a completely different mosque. Okay, that was my problem.
OK, Piers. The newspaper you work for said exactly the same within an hour. Abu Hamza's mosque. Were they fomenting hate, that newspaper that you work for? Were they? Were they inciting hate?
Well, I don't
I'm not
no, please.
I don't run the Daily Mail.
OK, but you've just said I was. So was the newspaper you work for who said exactly the same within an hour?
I have no responsibility for the Daily Mail. I write columns for Daily Mail.
Okay.
I'm not asking you about the Daily Mail.
OK, can I explain?
I'm asking you just to simply explain why, within 1 hour of this terrorist attack, your first thought process was to go on the attack about another mosque and to point out to people that it was basically a terror hotbed of jihadis, with the clear implication that somehow what happened that night was a deserved revenge attack.
Not deserved. I have gone...
Well, why would you talk about...
I'll talk now. I'll talk now. For 10 years, I've been banging my head and trying to prevent the situation we're in. Yeah. Now, every single mosque... I could tell you things in 10 minutes. When we look what happened in Manchester, yeah? Look what happened in Manchester. This is from the Didsbury Mosque, where Salman Abedi went. This is a leaflet. 650,000 of these were given out to British mosques last year. Living in a society in which people have accepted Western lifestyle as their way of life brings immorality at every step. Modesty, shame and honour have no place in Western civilisation. These are the views that are being perpetrated. Now, this is a book from the children's section of Didsbury Mosque. It says, "The music made me do it." Now, in this book...
What does this have to do with your tweets the other night?
Because we need to know what's happening in mosques.
Yeah, but I'm asking you... but hang on, we can come to other mosques in a minute. And there are issues where you have rightly, in my view, flagged up issues with the more Wahhabi type of mosque preaching in this country, which I think is a serious concern. My issue with where you come from on this is driven by the fact that you appear to be an Islamophobe, somebody that is hateful of Islam. You believe that the root cause of all this is Islam, not Islamist terrorists who...
Islamophobia has nothing to do with hating Islam. It has to do with the irrational fear of Islam. The fear of Islam is incredibly rational after all the terror attacks that took place. 46,000 terror attacks took place since 9/11 in 70 countries. That is completely rational thing to fear an ideology that seeks to kill non-Muslims. That's it. Has nothing to do with phobia. It's incredibly rational.
Who abuse the Quran and abuse Islam to justify their violence, right? Okay. That's my problem with where you come from. And I want to play you a video. Now, you know about... I'm going to play you a video.
On the point you've just made.
I need to play you the video so you can make your point. Right, let's just play a video. This is you talking about the 7/7 attacks, right? And the reason it's significant is because I want you to explain what you meant when you said this.
Yep, fine.
Every single Muslim watching this video on YouTube, on 7/7, you got away with killing and maiming British citizens. You got away with it.
Look, here's my question for you, right? That's not just an anti-Islam statement that you're making to what was an EDL rally. This is 2011, so years after 7/7. You're saying every single Muslim...
Listen to this, watch this.
Let me finish my question and then I'll give you the time to answer. Every single Muslim got away with killing and maiming British citizens.
That's not worded how I said it.
Well, we've just heard...
Yeah, but that's not worded how I said it.
We've just heard what you said.
Every single Muslim listening to this.
Right.
Yeah? Every single Muslim listening to this.
Right.
I didn't say every single Muslim got away with it. I said so that's a context.
What's the difference?
Because every single Muslim listening to this, I want them to... My job was leader of the English Defence League. We were a pressure movement. I was trying to put pressure on the Islamic community to deal with their in-house problems.
You said every single Muslim.
Listening to this.
What's the difference?
Well, I wanted every single Muslim at home to listen to this. And
but you said to them, every single Muslim watching this video, you got away with killing and maiming British citizens. Let's just play it again so we can be sure.
We can go over.
Every single Muslim watching this video on YouTube, on 7/7, you got away with killing and maiming British citizens. You got away with it.
No, unless I'm mistaken, you are addressing all Muslims in that statement, right?
Yep.
You accept that?
I accept that.
And so my issue again to you is, it's a bit like with this guy from Wales who perpetrated this terror attack, me now doing a video and saying every single white person in Britain, right, this is, if I was a Muslim, you just got away with killing and maiming our people.
Yep.
What would your reaction be?
Well, I'll explain now. Piers, when I said that, which I've come out and accepted that I shouldn't have said it in those words, I've already done that. The video you've just picked, why haven't you picked the video after Lee Rigby was beheaded? Where in that video, in my first speech, I said there are 600 Muslims serving in the British Armed Forces who are doing a hell of a lot more than most of us. Yeah? If you attack a Muslim woman walking down the street, you're a coward. If you attack a mosque, you're a moron. So there's obviously an agenda to only pick this. That's the one video...
It's not an agenda. It's one of the most... As you know, it's one of the most widely viewed videos of yours on the internet. If you Google your name, which I did yesterday, that's what comes up. And again, I say to you, Tommy, you know, I've had a lot of reaction to the column I wrote about you yesterday, or about this story, and a lot of people were agreeing with you, right? So you have a powerful and influential voice.
And every single opportunity, I make a difference between the followers of Islam, people, and the idea.
OK, well,
do you still... let me finish my question.
Okay.
Do you still believe...
That's 7 years ago.
Well, OK, but you don't allow the Finsbury Park
He doesn't let him respond. It's very annoying, Piers. Let the person speak.
mosque a chance to redeem themselves.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
No, your first thought process after this attack was to tell people...
No, it wasn't your newspaper's first thought process.
It's not my newspaper.
I took what
it's
the
not my newspaper.
We had the newspaper you worked for and
tweeted,
replied.
Tommy.
Yeah.
We had the tweet you tweeted. That is not you moving on from Finsbury Park Mosque or allowing them to evolve or change.
Okay.
That is you telling everybody Finsbury Park Mosque is a jihadi terrorist hotbed, right? That's what you're saying in that tweet.
I said it was. Now,
why are they not allowed to move on, but you are?
You know the man who's just done this attack? Say we trace it back and we find that he went to a centre in Cardiff. And in that centre in Cardiff, there was 4 speakers. And those 4 speakers were killing for the murder of Muslims. What will happen?
No,
No.
Let
me finish. No, let me finish. What would happen is it would be shut down and they would be arrested. Now, Didsbury Mosque, it had... One imam, Mohammed Adam, said that if you see non-Muslims walking down the street, you make sure they cross the other side, yeah? You do not say salam to them, do not show them respect.
Tell me...
If people... another hate preacher... No, please, let me finish.
I agree with you about...
Piers, let me finish.
Piers,
please, let me finish.
No. Hate preachers.
Let me finish, because, you want to know why...
Who are you trying to persuade with this?
No, I'm trying to explain to you why we're in the situation we're in. People see no light at the end of the tunnel. After that attack in Manchester, where... And this is hatred against music, where he targeted a kid's concert. He could recite the Quran without looking at it. The imam from that mosque was fighting jihad for years in Libya. Okay? Please let me finish. Please, Piers, let me finish.
No, because you're missing my point.
No, you're missing the point. I'll get to the point. This mosque, OK, so we've got people inciting murder against non-Muslims. What has been the reaction? Has any politician spoke about that mosque? Has anyone done anything about that mosque? They haven't. Do you know what the police done? The police went and stood next to him holding a sign saying "Stronger Together." Stronger Together. They've been inciting hatred and murder against us. That mosque needs to be shut down. And other mosques... No, please let me finish.
You need to stop talking.
When the British public see this,
They're probably telling them in the earpiece, hey, he's crossing the border. Tell him to stop talking. Piers was interrupting him before. It was good. Tell him to keep doing that.
These things, and they see ISIS fighters walking on streets.
This.
You understand it's going to create the problem we saw this week.
We all understand this. And by the way...
So unless you talk about it, unless the British public are allowed...
We have been talking about little else for the last 3 months on this programme. I have said many things similar to you.
You haven't. You've been brave.
So here's my point. This is not about me saying everything you say is wrong. My problem comes...
What's wrong with my accent?
Let me finish.
The way I talk, my background?
Mate, we both went to comprehensive schools, right?
You went to a school
I went to a state school, mate.
Yeah, you went to a school in Surrey.
No, I didn't. I went to a school in Sussex called Chailey Comprehensive, right? Don't play the class card with me.
You know nothing. You know nothing about growing up in Luton. You know nothing about growing up in Luton.
No, I didn't grow up in Luton.
You haven't watched your town decay. You haven't seen... I travel this country meeting families whose daughters have been raped, who are desperate. The British public are desperate for this problem to be solved. You want to talk about the radicalising factor as to why this attack... No, we need to talk about why this attack happened. We need to.
Calm down.
We have to.
Calm down.
That is what censorship looks like. Every time they try to interrupt him or cut him off, that's what censorship looks like, and that's what Tommy Robinson has been fighting against for many years.
Let me respond to you. I'm not saying nothing you say has merit, right? I have argued the same points about the Wahhabi preaching in mosques in this country, the extremism. I've urged Muslims, the decent law-abiding Muslims, to root out extremists. My problem with you is that you conflate Islamist terrorism with all
Islam.
Muslims.
No, with Islam.
Well, we've just seen a video where
From
you talked
7
about all
years ago,
Muslims.
Piers, come on.
The Finsbury Park mosque stuff that you're talking about was 15 years ago. If they're not allowed to be not judged
I've
on
just
their
told
past,
you that...
so are you.
Piers, can I ask, OK, what do you know about Islam?
A lot.
OK, have you read the biography of Muhammad?
Yes, I've read the Quran. I've read the Quran.
Have you read... Yes, I have.
Have you read the Bible?
Yes, have you read the biography of Muhammad?
Which has more violence in it?
Piers, have you read the biography of Muhammad? What do you know about the Prophet Muhammad?
Which has more...
Just ask me a question, please. What do you know about the Prophet Muhammad?
Here's how this programme works.
You said in your newspaper article yesterday...
You are a guest on our programme, and I asked the questions with Suzanne. I would like you to just clarify this.
So he knows nothing about Muhammad.
Do you believe, as you did in 2011, that all Muslims are accountable...
Of course I don't.
So do you apologise for what you said?
I've already apologised on national TV when I left the English Defence League and joined a Muslim counter-extremism think tank, which, again, in your article, you didn't want to talk about yesterday. Now, as I could say, you said yesterday...
Let me ask you another question.
Piers,
do you think...
please, why am I not allowed to finish one thing I'm saying?
Do you believe more Muslims should be allowed into our country?
Do I believe more?
Yes.
How would you tell who those Muslims are or where they come from?
I'm just asking you, do you believe... Would you have a ban, like Donald Trump suggested in America, would you have a ban on Muslims entering the country, new Muslims trying to have a home in this country? I believe
we need to protect the British public right now.
So what's the answer to the question?
British Muslims?
Yeah, the British public. I didn't say British non-Muslim public. I said the British public. We've had
Would you ban...
We've had
Tommy, you're a straight talker.
Children are being killed.
Yes, we all know what's been happening.
Yes, I would. I would stop...
You would ban all Muslims?
I would temporarily halt Muslim immigration to this country until we get a grip of the problem.
Very good.
Now, again, Piers, you said in your newspaper yesterday that I was...
It's not my newspaper.
You said in your article yesterday to the national newspaper, you acted like I was ignorant and I was stupid, OK? I was ignorant. You have not...
I didn't call you either of those things.
You did.
I said you were violent because you have a long record of criminal convictions for violence. You led a hooligan firm at Luton.
Piers,
Your name is not even Tommy Robinson. You renamed yourself after the leader of Luton Football Club's main hooligan gang, Men in Gear, right? You accept all that,
yeah, I do. I've not come here...
So you have a record of
I've not
violence.
come here to have a slandering match with you, because that doesn't get this cause anywhere. I want to do a public service. I want to address the issues. I want to talk about why we've got dead kids in Manchester. I want to prevent what's happening. I haven't come here for you to... I could pick things with your history. You're a bit involved in one of the biggest media scandals in the country's history. I'm not here to do that with you.
Well,
I think what you've done over the last 3 weeks, you've repeated what I've said for 10 years, speaking better English. And in 3 years' time, you'll be repeating what I'm saying now, because you're all playing catch-up.
OK.
I have seen this. I'm not talking about what I read in a book. I'm talking about my life experience. I'm talking about growing up in a town plagued by Islamic extremism.
I understand this. Let me just keep this calm, right? Because you are an influential
It's not calm,
voice. You are an influential
And at every opportunity, I point out that you should not attack innocent Muslims. At every opportunity, every single time, I differentiate Muslims from Islam.
Right. Okay? But what you don't do...
differentiate Muslims...
Muslims are people. Islam is an idea.
Yeah.
Islam's an idea, a bad idea.
And
Islam is a faith.
No, it's an idea.
It's a faith.
It's an idea that you can change your mind.
No, it's a faith, like Christianity.
Like Scientology.
Like all faiths.
Like
it's a religion, it's a faith.
Like Scientology?
So, Tommy, if you accept...
It's an ideology.
If you're saying...
Trapping him.
...that the problem is with Islam, are you accepting that you're Islamophobic?
Because there are 100 verses in this...
Yes or no?
Okay.
Are you Islamophobic?
There's no such word as Islamophobia. Phobia is an irrational fear. It's not irrational to fear these things. Now, if I hold this book up and say, there will never be peace on this earth so long as we have this book, it's a violent and cursed book. That's
wrong.
Can I tell you who said that?
Beautiful, Tommy. Beautiful. Proud of you.
Can I tell you who said that?
Can you put the
Sir William Gladstone
said that. You wouldn't do that with...
Sir William Gladstone
would you do that with the Bible? Show some respect.
Show some respect.
Show some respect.
Have you read this book?
For people...
Have you read this book?
There are over a billion people...
There are 100 verses in this book that incite violence and murder against us.
Show some damn respect for people's religious beliefs, right?
I should show some respect for a book that incites murder against me and
put it down.
And calls me...
I agree with Tommy Robinson. If something proposes the harming of non-Muslims, which is all of us, then we are allowed to criticize it and bring it to light.
This calls me an animal. No, I won't put it down. Sir William Gladstone held this book above his head in Parliament and he said there will never be peace on this earth so long as we have this book. It's a violent and cursed book. Was Sir William Gladstone, who we have statues across our capital C, was he a bigot or an Islamophobe?
See, now
Winston Churchill...
You're sounding like a complete
Winston
lunatic.
Churchill... No, I'm quoting previous some of the best leaders in this country.
You're sounding like a bigoted lunatic.
No, I'm not.
somebody that basically
Winston Churchill
you
said,
are an
Winston
Islamophobe
Churchill,
who hates Islam.
No, I don't
You
hate
basically
Islam.
think all
I know-
Muslims are to blame.
No.
We've seen you on video saying it. And
I
what
haven't.
you're doing now is deliberately inflammatory. It is deliberately poisonous.
How's this
And you
inflammatory?
are having
I'm
the
just giving you
complete
facts.
opposite effect to the one that you say
I'm
you
quoting
have.
William Gladstone.
You are stirring
I'm
up
quoting-
hatred. You
stirring
are
up hatred.
abusing people's religion. You're abusing their faith.
With a-
And you're
with-
being a complete disgrace.
What do you know about the Prophet Muhammad? We've established nothing. You are
I
ignorant
know
to
that
this
you're
issue.
deliberately insulting
What do you know
people
about the Prophet?
who
How am
have-
I insulting people?
who have deeply held religious beliefs.
And if they're in
you flouncing the Quran around in your hand
book is
in
the
that
reason,
disgraceful manner
this book
is outrageous.
This book is the reason we're in such a mess.
No.
That's a reality.
No, we're in this mess because people take Islam, they are terrorists, and they abuse the nature of Islam
And you know
the
that
wording
how?
of Islam,
You know
and
that
they
how?
perpetrate evil, and it is completely wrong.
And you know that
No, they don't. The people that commit terror attacks are not terrorists. They're jihadis following the Quran word for word, commanding people to unalive the disbelievers, which are non-Muslims. They're doing exactly what the Quran tells them to do. So Tommy is right. And if you bring up the Bible, the Torah, and you say, yeah, in Deuteronomy there's many vile verses, do you see Mordecai's going around the world committing these crimes on behalf of Judaism? Do you? No, you don't. Thank you.
You
how?
to try and claim that the
And you know
vast
how?
majority of Muslims who are decent, law-abiding people try and abuse and mock their faith and their holy book is an outrage.
And
they're
we're gonna
holy, but when you talk,
and
okay, so
Tommy Robinson, I'm
when
gonna-
the sacred
I'm gonna
months have
stop you
passed,
there
slay the
because
non-Muslims wherever
we
you
are
find them
going
and take them captive and
we
besiege them
are
and prepare for them in
going
ambush.
to-
Who's slaying who? I'm
We
not
are
inciting
going
hatred.
to talk
This calls for
to
my
a
death.
representative of the Finsbury Park Mosque after 7 o'clock. We're going to...
He mopped the floor with the both of them. Tommy Robinson, a true voice for peace in the UK. He seeks the girls in the UK and the boys in the UK and the people in the UK to feel safe and not be threatened under the wing of Islam. Tommy Robinson, ladies and gentlemen. And he wrote a book called Muhammad's Quran. If you want, you can DM me and I'll send you the link to order that book because this book was banned from Amazon. It will explain the book in a chronological order because the Quran is not written in a chronological order, and it will give you context to everything Tommy Robinson says. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to support me financially, you can do so through Buy Me Coffee or Patreon down in the links in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye-bye.